Historically, the Scream franchise has always maintained a two Ghostface film. Obviously, Scream 3 had Roman as the sole Ghostface, although Angelina was supposed to be the second Ghostface in that film. Therefore, they've always sort of maintained the dual Ghostface idea. And people even argue, debate, and discuss that, especially the original trilogy, there's always been another Ghostface sort of hiding behind the scenes. There's the Dewey theory, which I did an entire video on that I'll link down in the description below so you can check it out after this video, but also the Roman theory. Roman was in Scream 3 as the killer. He revealed that he was sort of the inspiration to Billy and Stu and sort of got things going in their minds. And the theory centers around sort of evidence from Scream 1 that Tatum and Sidney, when being stalked by Ghostface, that was actually Roman, because continuity-wise, Billy and Stu were in other locations at that time. Although there's a lot of holes and flaws, of course, in that theory, because it's a film, so it's hard to know which continuity is which and where characters are placed at the specific time. That theory also falls into the Dewey theory as well. So you can kind of see that there's always been speculation and ideas, and even unwritten scripts that didn't get put into production had multiple Ghostfaces outside of the two. And so I wanted to dedicate a video sort of discussing the possibility of the upcoming Scream 5 film and how many Ghostfaces may perhaps be in that film. Of course, have a discussion with you all, get your opinions, and sort of paint an idea and a picture. But before we get started, be sure to like this video. It helps me out a lot, lets me know that you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. And subscribe to the channel, followed by the bell notification so you never miss an upload. And let's get into it. So, right off the bat, we can assume that there are going to be at least two Ghostface in the upcoming Scream 5 film. Now, what is the likelihood that there would be more? Now, there's tons of theories and speculations, obviously, of Judy Hicks. And many people, myself included, think that that storyline of her being a Ghostface is very plausible. And therefore, it's possible that she could be a Ghostface later on revealed in the film. Although, because it is so predictable, it makes it very underwhelming. I even talked about in another video about Judy Hicks maybe being an early Ghostface reveal, but it's only known to the audience. Therefore, it adds an element of surprise and a different type of factor that hasn't been done yet in the Scream franchise, and adds this layer as the film progresses, because you get this idea of like, oh wow, like look at her manipulate, look at her do this, look at her do that, because you as an audience member knows that she is a Ghostface. And so if something like that were to happen, then obviously they have to do a surprise reveal. It still has to have the whodunit, because that's what the Scream franchise has been up to this point primarily about. Like, who is the Ghostface out of this group of characters? So obviously they would maintain that successful formula in this upcoming Scream 5 film. But another idea has always been, that's been kicked around in several of the Scream films, is the cult idea. What if there are several Ghostfaces? What if, let's say, there's 15 main sort of pieces in this film, and 6 or 7 of them turn out to be Ghostfaces? We think that they're dead, we think that they're killed, but then later on they're revealed as like part of this cult. And I've made videos sort of touching on this idea, and I get lots of comments of people that are like, oh, that's such a silly idea, why would they do that? It's something that they have discussed for a long time. I mean, Scream 3 was supposed to have that, and Stu was supposed to be sort of this cult leader of Ghostfaces. So it's definitely an idea in theory that has been almost executed. So whether you think it's silly or not, it's something that is very plausible and could very well happen in this upcoming film. And obviously there's all the rumors and speculations and fans of Scream that want to see Stu return. So maybe that is how they incorporate him. Maybe they take a piece of that undeveloped story and insert it into this film with other cast members being a part of it. Therefore, you're talking there could be who knows how many ghost faces all sort of terrorizing this town of Woodsboro. Not just that, but you got to remember they're planning on making a trilogy. Therefore, if you had something like that, now you have like the reveal of the cult. Episode 2 or Scream 2 would be the sort of execution of the cult. You get to see sort of the behind the scenes, the actual town being sort of onslaughted by this cult of Ghostface, and then Scream 3 is sort of the end result, the wrap up, how the cult is taken down or whatever. Maybe there's a member or two that survive at the end, but you get the idea that there could be many Ghostfaces. Another idea would just be that there are several groups of siblings in this Scream 5 film that hasn't really happened in any of the other films. Therefore, you have a real chance that, obviously, let's say a Martha Meeks is a Ghostface. Well, then now you have Martha Meeks, most likely her kids are probably going to be involved in some faucet, Therefore, it's very possible that you have 3 Ghostfaces in this film. Touching back on the Judy Hicks, you have Judy Hicks and Wes Hicks, who is being introduced in this film. They would probably have a friend or an accomplice or something that would sort of tie in. Therefore, you'd have 3 or 4 ghost faces in Scream 5. I just think it's a very real possibility to have more than just your typical 2 ghost faces, whether you get an early reveal or whether all 3, 4, 5, however many are shown at the end. If that's the end result, it's still a surprise because you're like, wow, I expected these 2 or, whatever, or this guy or this girl, and ultimately it's several. It's a whole different reveal. It's something that has been discussed for a very long time that never got executed that they could use. My other sort of thinking and logic as to why they would have a 3 to 4 ghost faces, you have to tie in Sydney and the OGs. Like, what would be the incentive or point for a group of teens that have no real connection or don't really know Sydney and the gang to all of a sudden target them, assuming that they're going to be targets? It's very possible that they might not be the main targets. Obviously, if it's they want to do their own direction, their own thing, their own focus on characters, but you still have the OG3 involved. Therefore, you have to make it make sense. You have to have a reason for why a Ghostface would go after them. So a Martha Meeks or a Judy Hicks or something along those lines makes a lot of sense as to why Sydney and Dewey and Gale are a target. Like, because they actually have ties to them. Maybe Martha Meeks is upset. I've touched on it on the Martha Meeks video that I have, where she's upset over the Randy thing. Maybe she looks at Sydney as like, you're the reason Randy died. He went to college and followed you because he was in love with you, and therefore I'm coming after you. And she gets involved. Maybe there's 4. Maybe it's her husband, and her kids. There's just so many elements that they can have, but they really need to explain the OG3 being targeted, because again, why would these random teens, outside of just like, I killed the Legends of Woodsboro type thing, yes, that is obviously a plausible explanation and sort of motive as to why, but realistically, they need to explain a real purpose for why go after these 3. Why Dewey makes sense because he's the sheriff, so I can understand him being a target and them wanting to get him out of the way regardless, because he's the sheriff. He's going to be involved. He's investigating. He's doing all these things. Gale, yes, I guess you could say maybe she starts reporting, so she's sort of in the mix of things, and she's just at the wrong place at the wrong time, so now she becomes a target. So there are other ways to sort of tie in the other 2. And then Sydney, obviously, if one of Dewey and Gale, Dewey primarily, because that seems to be what most people believe, he will be the one to die, then Sydney gets sort of sucked in, so somehow you paint her as a target. But I get you can make the argument for why target Dewey, why target Gale, but Sydney sort of becomes the main thing outside of like, you just want to be the ghost face that takes out Sydney. Outside of that, I feel like you need to have some ties to it. And so having several killers, whether that be 3 or more, one, it's a different change outside of the standard 2, and it also adds an element that of surprise. You're sitting there like, wow, like I didn't expect that, and it also, in the grand scheme of things, can add different layers and different story arcs and different reasonings as to why everyone's targeting who they're targeting, why everyone's doing what they're doing. So it's just a thought and idea, but as always, this is a discussion and I want to hear from you. So let me know what you think. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Would you like to see several killers? Would you like to see the cult idea? Do you want them to sort of just stick to the 2 and we're fine? Do you want an early Ghostface, like I said in a previous video, Judy Hicks, and then the other 2 or 3 or however many are discovered later? Any and all ideas, thoughts, discussions, join it down in the comments below. If you haven't yet, like the video, helps me out a lot, lets me know that you enjoy these types of videos, and subscribe to the channel, followed by the bell notification so you never miss an upload. I'll see you all in the next one.